The galaxy was buzzing with excitement. News had spread like wildfire across every corner of the universe. A message was sent from the farthest reaches of space, and it carried with it a challenge unlike any before it. The message was simple yet overwhelming. An equation so complex that no one, not even the most advanced species in the galaxy, had been able to solve it. For months, top scientists from every race, be it the towering four-armed Crexians or the telepathic Xyrillians, had been working tirelessly, but the solution remained elusive. The Galactic Council, a powerful assembly of the most influential species, watched with a growing sense of worry. The equation was said to hold the key to unimaginable power. It was a test. Whoever solved it would be granted access to secrets beyond comprehension, unlocking new technologies and even new ways to manipulate the very fabric of the universe itself. The greatest minds had tried and failed. The Crexian scientists, with their advanced computing technology, had been stumped. The Xyrillians, whose telepathic abilities allowed them to think at speeds far greater than any human could imagine, could not unravel its mysteries. Even the renowned Orcs, a race known for their perfect logical minds, found themselves tangled in its complexity. Weeks passed. Desperation began to set in. The Galactic Council issued public statements, expressing their hope that a solution would soon be found. The message was clear. Whoever could solve the equation would be celebrated as the greatest mind in the galaxy. But there was one being who, as of yet, had not heard of the challenge. Sam was a human, just an ordinary human. At least that's how most of the galaxy saw him. Sam had lived his entire life on a Deathworld, a planet so hostile that survival was considered a feat in itself. His IQ was off the charts, far beyond what most could even comprehend. He had an incredible gift for solving problems, but he had never been recognized for it. No one had ever expected a human to make waves in the galaxy's intellectual community. One day, while Sam was working on routine scans in his quiet corner of the universe, he stumbled across the message. He wasn't looking for it. It just appeared on his console, out of nowhere, like a forgotten whisper from the stars. Sam was curious. He had no idea what the equation was or why it mattered, but something about it intrigued him. Without a second thought, he decided to give it a try. As he began analyzing the equation, he quickly realized how different it was from anything he had ever encountered. This wasn't just a mathematical puzzle. It was a challenge that tested everything. Not only was the equation complex, but it also seemed to change as he looked at it, shifting into different forms, making it more difficult to understand. Sam smiled to himself. He had seen this kind of problem before on his Deathworld, where nature threw impossible challenges his way every day. He took a deep breath and dove into the puzzle with everything he had. His mind raced, weaving through the equations with an ease that was almost effortless. The galaxy would soon know that a human was about to do what no one else could. Sam was going to solve the impossible equation, and nothing, not even the most advanced species in the galaxy, would be able to stop him. Sam lived on the edge of the galaxy, far from the bustling cities of the more advanced civilizations. His home was a small, isolated research station located on a remote planet, a place where few visited and even fewer stayed for long. It was not a paradise, not a place of luxury, but it was home to Sam, a human who had spent most of his life on a Deathworld, a planet where survival was an everyday struggle. On Deathworlds, everything was dangerous. The wild creatures, the harsh weather, and the fierce landscapes had taught Sam to think quickly, adapt, and survive against the odds. His mind, sharp and trained by years of facing life or death situations, had become a tool for solving problems that most other species would have called impossible. But he had never really used his talents for anything other than survival, until now. While the galaxy was busy reacting to the great intergalactic challenge, Sam was doing what he did best, working quietly, focusing on his tasks. He didn't care about the noise or the attention. That was the last thing on his mind. He had no idea what the equation meant, nor did he care about the grand prize promised to the solver. What caught his attention was the puzzle itself. As the equation appeared on his console, Sam was drawn in by its complexity. At first glance, it seemed like a string of random numbers and symbols, but Sam's mind didn't see random. He saw patterns, logic, and structure. He leaned forward in his chair, his fingers flying across the keyboard as he began to break the code apart. The galaxy thought of humans as simple, fragile beings, small in number and far behind in technology. But Sam knew better. He had been raised on a world where brains and instincts were the only things that could keep you alive. There, no one relied on technology or machines to survive. It was the sharpness of the mind, the ability to think quickly and creatively, that made the difference between life and death. And Sam had learned how to use that in ways that most couldn't even imagine. The equation on his screen twisted and turned in unexpected ways. Each time Sam thought he understood one part, another layer revealed itself, more complex, more elusive. But to Sam, it was like solving a puzzle in a new form. He had faced similar challenges before, where the rules didn't always apply and survival depended on thinking differently. It was in those moments that he thrived. For hours, Sam worked tirelessly. He didn't take breaks, didn't stop for food or rest. He wasn't motivated by the rewards the equation promised. To him, it was just another challenge, and he wasn't one to back down from a challenge. Outside, the stars blinked quietly in the dark expanse of space. The universe had no idea what was about to happen. Sam was just a human, and yet, with every keystroke, he was closer to solving something that no one else had been able to touch. No one had ever seen a human like him. Not on Deathworlds, and certainly not in the far reaches of the galaxy. But Sam didn't need their recognition. He just needed the equation to be solved. And so, with determination in his eyes and focused like a laser, Sam continued to unravel the mysteries of the impossible equation. Sam's fingers moved quickly over the console, his eyes scanning the endless string of numbers and symbols. He wasn't intimidated by its complexity. The more he looked at it, the more his mind began to connect the dots, pulling together the different parts of the equation like pieces of a puzzle. But the deeper he went, the more he realized that this was unlike any puzzle he had encountered before. There was something unique about this challenge, something that didn't just test raw intellect, but demanded something else, something far more elusive. As he examined the equation, Sam noticed it wasn't just static. It wasn't a problem that could be solved by simply following a formula. It seemed alive, constantly shifting, adapting to his thoughts as if it were reading his mind. The symbols moved, rotated, and rearranged themselves as if testing him, pushing him to find a new way to approach it. To Sam, this was fascinating. It wasn't just mathematics. It was a living, breathing puzzle, and he could feel himself getting closer to understanding its true nature. For hours, Sam sat alone in his small station, his mind racing. He had always been good at solving problems, especially when survival was on the line. On his death world, nothing made sense at first glance. Every day was a new challenge, a new danger that required a fresh way of thinking. Whether it was outsmarting deadly predators or finding shelter from a storm that could wipe out entire cities, Sam had learned early on that thinking differently was the key to survival. This equation was no different. The numbers and symbols on the screen continued to twist and bend before his eyes. At times, he thought he was seeing patterns, hidden connections in the mess of numbers, but when he focused, they would disappear like fleeting shadows. Frustration began to build, but Sam didn't give up. His mind didn't work like others. When faced with an obstacle, he didn't just try harder. He tried differently. He took a step back and looked at the equation from a new angle. Suddenly, something clicked. A hidden connection appeared in the chaos, and Sam's mind quickly followed the thread. The equation wasn't about logic in the traditional sense. It was about understanding the flow of the symbols, the rhythm of the universe that lay behind them. The equation wasn't just scientific. It was a map a guide to something much bigger than anyone had imagined. It was like a hidden door to the unknown, and Sam was starting to unlock it. As his mind unraveled the puzzle further, Sam realized that this wasn't just a simple test of intelligence. It was a test of creativity. The equation was forcing him to think in ways no one had before. It wasn't about brute force or advanced technology. It was about intuition, the kind of creativity that came from survival and experience. Sam smiled to himself. He knew he was on the right track now. The equation was far more than just numbers and symbols. It was a test of how far the mind could go, how far it could stretch beyond the boundaries of the known universe. And Sam, the human from a death world, was about to prove that his mind could go farther than anyone ever imagined. As he made the final adjustments, a part of the equation fell into place. A moment of clarity swept over him. He was closer than ever to solving the impossible. As Sam continued to work on the equation, something unexpected began to happen. News of his progress spread quickly through the galaxy, and soon he wasn't the only one focused on the mysterious challenge. Across the stars, beings of all shapes and sizes, creatures of unimaginable intelligence, had begun to take notice of the human who was making more progress than anyone had expected. At first, the reactions were dismissive. How could a mere human, just one tiny species in a galaxy of far older, wiser civilizations, possibly solve the equation that had stumped the greatest minds for months? Some laughed it off, considering Sam's success nothing more than a lucky guess. But as the days passed and Sam's solutions grew more accurate, their amusement began to fade, replaced by a growing sense of concern. Was it possible that a human of all species was on the verge of solving the greatest puzzle of the galaxy? The first to reach out to Sam was a group of Zorillians. The Zorillians were a race known for their telepathic powers, able to communicate and process thoughts far quicker than any human. Sam had heard of them, but had never met any personally. Their intelligence was legendary, and many had expected them to be the ones to solve the equation first. But their communication was always indirect, their solutions based on intuition rather than logic. When a transmission from the Zorillians arrived, Sam wasn't sure what to make of it. The message was respectful but urgent, asking for his assistance. They had been watching his progress closely, and now they were offering to help him. They claimed that together, they could solve the equation faster. They offered him access to their advanced telepathic networks and technology that could break the puzzle apart in ways no human mind could. At first, Sam hesitated. His first instinct was to reject their help. He had solved problems on his own for years, and the thought of relying on others, especially those who had dismissed him from the start, didn't sit well with him. But as the message continued, Sam began to realize something important. This wasn't about his pride or independence anymore. This equation, this puzzle, was bigger than him. It was bigger than any single species. After some consideration, Sam made a decision. He sent a reply, accepting their offer, but on his own terms. He didn't want their help in the traditional sense. Instead, he asked them to teach him their methods, to share their knowledge of how they process thoughts and ideas so quickly. If they could offer him something he didn't have, it was their perspective, the way they saw the universe and problem-solving. The Zorillians were surprised by Sam's response, but they agreed. They had never encountered a human who could think this way, and they were curious to see what would come of it. As the Zorillians linked their telepathic network to Sam's mind, he felt the flood of information, ideas, thoughts, and concepts he had never even imagined. It was overwhelming at first, but Sam quickly adapted, drawing on the best parts of his mind and combining it with the raw, creative power of the Zorillians. The combination of their knowledge and his own unique problem-solving abilities started to create something incredible. Together, they unlocked new layers of the equation, revealing hidden connections that no one had noticed before. For the first time, Sam didn't feel alone in his work. With the Zorillians as his unexpected allies, he knew that the impossible equation was within reach. The final answer was closer than ever, and he could almost feel it just beyond the horizon. Sam's mind raced with new information, a flood of thoughts and insights shared by the Zorillians. Their telepathic abilities were powerful, but Sam's mind was sharper than most. He quickly adapted to the new flood of knowledge, merging their insights with his own way of thinking. It was like opening a door to a new world of possibilities, where ideas that seemed out of reach only moments ago were now within grasp. For days, Sam sat at his console, his fingers moving faster than ever, manipulating numbers and symbols with precision. The equation had already been partially solved, but now, with the Zorillian's perspective, he was beginning to see it in its entirety. It was more than just a mathematical puzzle. It was a key, a doorway to something far greater. He had spent hours contemplating the missing pieces, his eyes glued to the screen, following the twisting paths of the equation. But now, the pieces seemed to fall into place on their own. The numbers, once scattered and disconnected, began to align, forming patterns that were too perfect to ignore. The more Sam worked, the more the equation began to make sense. It was no longer just a string of symbols. It was a blueprint, a map to something unknown, but incredibly important. As Sam continued to break down the equation, he realized it wasn't just about solving it. It was about understanding what it represented. It was a map to an ancient civilization, long forgotten by the galaxy. A civilization that had mastered science and technology in ways that no one in the galaxy could comprehend. It held the secrets to untold power, the kind of power that could change the balance of the galaxy forever. The Zorillians, now fully linked with Sam's mind, were amazed at how quickly he had pieced together the complex puzzle. They had expected it to take weeks, maybe even months, to fully understand the equation's hidden meaning. But Sam had done it in mere days. It was a level of problem-solving they had never seen before, and they were beginning to realize that Sam was no ordinary human. His ability to think beyond the limits of conventional logic was something none of them could match. The final part of the equation was the most difficult. It had been hidden in plain sight, buried beneath layers of complexity. But Sam, with the help of his new allies, saw it. The answer was there, waiting for someone with the right perspective to uncover it. He took a deep breath, his mind calm and focused, and pressed a final key. The screen lit up with a blinding flash of light, and for a moment, Sam thought he had made a mistake. But then, the data began to shift, revealing a series of coordinates that led to a remote part of the galaxy, a place where no one had ever ventured. The coordinates pointed to the location of an ancient artifact, a piece of technology that had been lost to time. Sam felt a surge of excitement. He had done it. The equation was solved, and with it, the galaxy was about to change forever. But even as he stared at the coordinates, a new question began to form in his mind. What would happen next? What secrets lay waiting for him at the end of this journey? The coordinates on the screen blinked, as if daring Sam to follow them. The vastness of the galaxy stretched out before him, the unknown region marked only by a few distant stars. It was a place that no one had ventured to in centuries, if not longer. No records, no maps, just empty space filled with secrets and mysteries that had been buried for ages. Yet Sam felt no fear. In fact, he was filled with excitement. The journey ahead wasn't just a mission. It was a discovery that could change everything. He glanced at the Zorillians, still linked to him through the telepathic connection. They had been quiet, amazed by what they were seeing. They had shared their knowledge with Sam, but now, they were beginning to realize something. This wasn't just about solving a mathematical equation anymore. Sam had unlocked something far greater. He had found a path to an ancient civilization, a long-forgotten species whose knowledge was far beyond anything any modern race had ever imagined. And Sam was about to uncover it. Sam didn't waste time. He immediately began preparing his ship for the journey. The coordinates led to an uncharted star system, a place where few had ever dared to go. His ship's engines roared to life as he charted a course for the unknown. As he entered the vast reaches of space, Sam couldn't help but wonder what lay ahead. The equation had only been a clue that led to something far bigger than anyone could have ever guessed. The technology hidden within the equation could alter the future of the galaxy. As the ship traveled deeper into the unknown space, Sam's mind raced with questions. Who were these ancient beings? Why had they left behind such incredible knowledge? What had happened to them? The equation had given him only a small glimpse into their world, but there was so much more to uncover. Days turned into weeks as Sam navigated the vast expanse of space. The farther he traveled, the more he realized that the galaxy he knew was just a small part of a much bigger universe. There were civilizations out there that had risen and fallen long before humanity had ever set foot in space. He had always thought of the galaxy as a place of limits, of known boundaries, but now, as he followed the coordinates, it felt as if the entire universe had opened up to him. Finally, Sam arrived at the edge of the system where the coordinates had led him. A massive, desolate planet hovered before him. Its surface was covered in craters and ancient ruins, as if some great disaster had long ago shattered it. But even from a distance, Sam could feel the presence of something extraordinary. The air around the planet seemed charged with energy, as if the very planet itself was alive with the memories of the past. Sam landed his ship gently on the planet's surface, the engines humming softly as he prepared to step out. The Zorillians, still connected with him, felt the same sense of awe. This was no ordinary discovery. What Sam had found was far greater than any of them could have imagined. They had unlocked the door to a civilization that had long since faded from history. But what lay inside? What would Sam find in the ruins of this ancient world? As he stepped outside, the eerie silence of the planet enveloped him. The only sound was the soft crunch of his boots on the dust-covered ground. Sam took a deep breath, his heart pounding with anticipation. He was about to uncover an ancient secret that had been hidden from the universe for millennia. The adventure was only just beginning. As Sam stepped onto the barren surface of the planet, he could feel the weight of history pressing down on him. The ruins around him were like the forgotten remains of a long-lost civilization, their purpose shrouded in mystery. The Zorillians, still linked to his mind, shared in the awe and wonder. This was the moment they had all been waiting for, uncovering the secrets of an ancient world that had been hidden for countless millennia. But back in the galaxy, things were beginning to stir. News of Sam's discovery, his solving of the impossible equation, had already spread. The Galactic Council, the ruling body of the galaxy's most powerful species, was growing increasingly nervous. They had watched Sam's progress from the beginning, but they had never expected a human to be the one to unlock the mysteries of the equation, let alone find the coordinates to such a hidden place. The leaders of the Galactic Council gathered in their grand chambers, their faces grim as they discussed the situation. The equation that had once seemed like a harmless puzzle now appeared to be a map to something far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The artifact Sam was about to discover was not just a relic of the past. It was a key to unimaginable power, a technology so advanced that it could shift the balance of the entire galaxy. How is it possible that a human did this? One of the leaders, a Crexian general, growled. His species was known for their immense strength and technological prowess, yet it was a human who had solved a puzzle they could not. "We have underestimated them," said a Zorillian elder, his voice calm but filled with concern. "Sam's mind works differently than ours. He thinks creatively, not just logically. That's what allowed him to solve the equation, and now he's about to uncover something we may not be ready for." A third council member, a stern-faced Orcs diplomat, spoke up. "We cannot allow this human to control such power. What he uncovers on that planet could change the course of galactic history. We need to act before it's too late." The debate grew heated as the council members argued over how to handle the situation. Some feared Sam's discovery would give humanity an edge over the rest of the galaxy, while others worried that the technology Sam would uncover might fall into the wrong hands. No one, however, had an answer for how to stop him. Meanwhile, Sam stood on the desolate planet, unaware of the storm brewing back home. He and the Zorillians were studying the ruins, their minds racing with the possibilities of what they might find. As they ventured deeper into the heart of the ruins, the air seemed to crackle with energy. Every step they took brought them closer to something unknown, something far beyond the understanding of any species currently in the galaxy. Sam felt a strange pull, as if the very ground beneath his feet was guiding him toward something. There was no turning back now. Whatever lay ahead in the ruins would change everything. Back in the council chambers, the decision was made. The Galactic Council would send a team to intercept Sam, to ensure that the knowledge he was about to uncover did not fall into the wrong hands. They knew they couldn't allow a single human to wield such power unchecked. But Sam wasn't just any human, and the galaxy was about to learn that underestimating him would be their greatest mistake. Sam moved carefully through the ancient ruins, his steps cautious but filled with purpose. The air was thick with the silence of centuries, and every piece of broken stone felt like a whisper from the past, urging him forward. The Zorillians, still connected to him through their telepathic bond, were equally alert. The energy in the ruins was undeniable, a strange hum that seemed to come from the very walls themselves. It was as if the planet was alive, waiting for someone to uncover its secrets. As they walked deeper into the heart of the ruins, Sam felt his excitement grow. He was on the verge of something incredible, something that would not only change his life, but the fate of the entire galaxy. The ancient civilization that had built these structures was long gone, but their knowledge had been preserved, hidden, waiting for the right mind to unlock it. And Sam, against all odds, was that mind. Ahead, they saw it, a large, circular structure, its surface etched with symbols that Sam recognized from the equation. The same symbols that had eluded even the brightest minds in the galaxy. The moment he set eyes on it, he knew this was the heart of the puzzle. This was what the equation had led him to. Sam stepped closer, feeling the energy growing stronger. The ruins seemed to react to his presence, the air crackling with power. He reached out cautiously, his hand brushing the surface of the structure. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a low rumble echoed through the ground beneath his feet, and the symbols on the structure began to glow faintly. The Zorillians, still linked to Sam's mind, were in awe. They could feel the power of the ancient technology, something far beyond their understanding. It was clear that what Sam had found was not just a relic. It was a weapon, a key to something more, something that could give its wielder the power to reshape the galaxy. The structure began to shift, revealing a hidden door. Sam hesitated for only a moment before stepping forward, his heart pounding with anticipation. This was it. He had solved the equation, unlocked the ancient secrets, and now he was about to find out what lay inside. As the door opened, a beam of light shot out, illuminating the dark chamber beyond. Inside, Sam saw it, an artifact unlike anything he had ever seen. It was a strange, crystalline object, floating in the center of the room, surrounded by a field of energy. Sam stepped closer, feeling the pull of the artifact, as if it were calling to him. He reached out, his hand trembling, and as his fingers touched the crystal, a wave of knowledge flooded his mind. It was overwhelming. Images, ideas, and technology that no living being in the galaxy could comprehend. Sam's mind raced to process the information, but he could feel the connection deep in his bones. This was the key to the lost civilization's power, and now it was his. Back in the galaxy, the Galactic Council was watching with growing concern. They had sent a team of elite operatives to stop Sam from uncovering the artifact, but they were too late. Sam had already unlocked its power. The galaxy's fate was no longer in the hands of the Council, but in the hands of a human. Sam smiled to himself. The equation had been more than just a puzzle. It had been a test of creativity, of resilience, of what it meant to think differently. And now, the human who had once been dismissed as insignificant had become the most powerful being in the galaxy. The impossible had been done. Sam had won, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The ruins of the ancient planet lay quiet again. But within Sam, There was a storm of thoughts. He had uncovered the artifact, and its power was still coursing through his mind. The knowledge, vast and unfathomable, had been unlocked, and the universe now seemed to have no limits. Sam stood before the crystal, feeling the weight of everything he had just learned. It wasn't just the technology or the science that had been buried here. It was the legacy of a civilization that had once ruled the stars. Sam had solved the equation, yes, but what he had found was so much more. The crystal he held in his hands was more than just an object. It was a key to a new era. The knowledge it contained could advance every civilization in the galaxy, and its power could bring about an age of prosperity or destruction. He closed his eyes for a moment, allowing the flood of information to settle in his mind. The vision of the ancient civilization came to him again. They had created this artifact to guide the future, but their downfall had come when they failed to control it. The power they had unlocked was too much, too dangerous. They had vanished from history, leaving behind only ruins and this artifact, a reminder of their greatness and their mistake. Sam knew what he had to do. This knowledge, this power, could not fall into the wrong hands. The Galactic Council had already proven they were too focused on control and power. They would only use it to further their own agendas, to dominate weaker species and maintain their rule over the galaxy. That could not happen. Sam had solved the equation, and now it was his responsibility to ensure the future wasn't shaped by greed. The Zorillians, still connected to him, shared his thoughts. They understood what needed to be done. Together, they had unlocked the key to the galaxy's future. And now, it was their job to protect it, to ensure that the knowledge didn't fall into the hands of those who would misuse it. But even as Sam thought about the consequences of this power, he couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. He, a human from a distant, dangerous world, had solved the equation and found the key to the future. His species had always been underestimated, seen as weak and insignificant compared to the advanced civilizations that ruled the stars. But Sam had proven them all wrong. The human mind was capable of greatness, capable of seeing things in ways that others couldn't. And now, that brilliance was the galaxy's greatest hope. As Sam turned away from the artifact, he knew there was much work to be done. The Galactic Council would not take kindly to being outmaneuvered by a human. They would come for him, for the artifact, for the knowledge he had unlocked. But Sam was ready. He had already defeated the impossible once. Now he would face the galaxy's most powerful beings and show them that humanity wasn't just a part of the galaxy. They were going to lead it. The human legacy was just beginning. The silence in the ruins was deafening, broken only by the hum of the artifact in Sam's hands. The weight of the discovery had fully settled in his mind. He had unlocked the knowledge and power of an ancient civilization, a treasure more valuable than any galaxy-wide empire could offer. But that was not what weighed most heavily on Sam now. What mattered most was what came next. The Galactic Council had already made their move. They would stop at nothing to claim the power Sam had found, believing it rightfully belonged to them. Sam had seen their hunger for control, their willingness to use whatever means necessary to maintain their dominance. He could feel their eyes on him, waiting for the moment he would deliver the artifact into their hands. But that was not going to happen. Sam stood in the heart of the ancient ruins, the knowledge of the past flowing through his mind. He had solved the impossible equation, a puzzle that no one else could have cracked. He had uncovered the secrets of the lost civilization that had once ruled the stars. But now, Sam's role was clear. He was not just a solver of equations. He was the protector of the future, and the future of the galaxy was not going to be decided by the power-hungry elite of the Galactic Council. The Zorillians, linked to him still through their telepathic bond, shared his resolve. Together, they had seen what the artifact could do. The knowledge it contained was far too powerful to fall into the wrong hands. They knew what Sam had to do. It wasn't just about protecting the artifact. It was about protecting the galaxy from itself. Sam made his decision. He would keep the artifact hidden. its knowledge locked away until a better time came. A time when the galaxy would be ready for it. He wouldn't let the Galactic Council, who had already shown their inability to handle such power, be the ones to decide how it would be used. It was up to him and the Zorillians to ensure that the secrets of the past remained safe for future generations, not exploited by those who sought to control everything. But as Sam prepared to leave the ruins and hide the artifact once more, he could sense the approaching ships of the Galactic Council. They had come for him, for the artifact, and Sam knew that the confrontation was inevitable. The human who had solved the impossible equation, who had uncovered the galaxy's greatest secret, was now on the brink of something even greater. He was no longer just a human from a death world. He was a force to be reckoned with. The first ship arrived, its engines roaring as it descended toward the planet's surface. Sam stood his ground, ready to face the threat head-on. He knew the Council would not give up easily. They would fight to take what they believed was rightfully theirs. But Sam had already won. He had proven that even the most advanced civilizations could underestimate a human. And now he would show them that humanity wasn't just a species to be ignored. They were the future of the galaxy. As the ships of the Galactic Council landed, Sam stood tall, his hand gripping the artifact tightly. The galaxy was on the verge of a new beginning, and Sam knew that he was the one who would shape it. This was just the start. The future was his to guide.